friends. Today we are going to be talking about line and volume. And the materials that we'll be using for this project is wire, reed, and tissue paper. And it's going to be a sculpture. You're really going to enjoy this one. It's lots of fun. So, our learning targets are my reed sculpture will emphasize line, balance, scale, form, movement, volume, and space. I can compare and analyze wire sculpture from history. I know and understand the influence of Alexander Calder. I can develop a wire sculpture. And last but not least, I know how to use and respect material in art. So this is Alexander Calder. And to his friends, he was known as Sandy, a very jovial individual. And he worked in wire, and then eventually in the latter part of his life, he worked in large scale monumental sculpture in steel. But what Sandy is really known for is the creation of mobiles. And here they are. And you've probably seen them around in different places and didn't understand or didn't know that it was probably a Calder inspired piece. And his all work on the idea of creating balance and movement. So we see, if you ever see one of these, and even in a kid's crib, you'll see them above a mobile. And they're really quite unique and spectacular in the constant movement and how they are balanced out. And kind of a trick to do, but really interesting and fun to create. And here is one of his smaller sculptures, which eventually became a large scale monumental sculpture. And you can see the idea is it has asymmetrical balance. And if we could have some video, we could see some movement on it. Here are some of his large scale monumental sculptures. I love how they play with positive and negative space. So we see the positive in the actual sculpture and the negative pieces that are in between the sculpture. And what I think is so interesting about his pieces, even though they are so large, and this one is a stationary sculpture, we still have movement. We still have movement in the line, we have movement in the shape and the form. Now, here is Sam Spikatka. I probably said his name wrong, so I do apologize. And he does steel sculptures. And this is inside his studio. And what's really fun is these photographs where my husband knows him. And so it's just kind of interesting the sculptures that he create. And he was inspired by Calder as well. So I always think it's fascinating to see other artists and how they are inspired by other artists. So, and we don't have this capability here at our school to do in our art program, but I always think it's interesting to be exposed to it. So, a few more. And seeing his sketches and how he came up with his ideas. So, this is what we're going to be doing. We are going to be doing a reed sculpture. And we are going to be looking at a bunch of different artists through this process. And these, many of these were done by students, my husband's students, and these ones are currently done by my husband's students. But we also have some of our own student work here as well. And I love this and how you can see here are the sculptures and the shadows that it creates. The shadows are just as interesting as the sculptures are. So here is a few more that we can see on display. And this is just strictly right here with these ones are the wire or reed and tissue paper. A few more. And look at how they move. I think this is so fun to see the movement that is created with these and how the shadows change on the wall. And when you look at these, you see something new every time. And I think that's what's so spectacular about sculpture. This one was done with wire and tissue paper. A little bit more challenging, very interesting. Almost like a cocoon. These ones were done with colored tissue paper. And we do have some in class. I do tell students to maybe wait and do one that is successful first because the colored tissue paper bleeds all over the place and it contaminates your glue and it stains your fingers. But if you really want to do it, you can do it, but we need to make one sculpture first. And so fascinating how many people have resolved this project. This one was done in wire and tissue paper, and this one is wire and tissue paper. So this one was created by one of our students here at STMA, and it won a National Scholastic Art Award. It was created in our sculpture class, and it was done with tissue paper and the reed. And when I have students do this project, which we will be doing in class, is that I want you to come up with some themes or ideas behind your sculpture because it's really hard to do a lot of planning with these. You can do a little bit, and then you have to do some problem solving as you're working because things can change and alter. So we will be doing some pre-sketching with this as well. You will have a theme. So I would start making a list of maybe 20 items that you are interested in. And when we start to work on this project, you kind of have to think about, is your sculpture going to be realistic or abstract? And you'll think about this as you're working on your ideas. And then as we're processing and going through what's going well and what isn't, and have you asked for help? How is your project different from others? Because one thing that does happen with them is if you're not careful, it looks like the other person. So it's really important to have a theme or an idea in mind. And what would you name your sculpture? And any changes from your original drawing. And you will be doing some pre-drawing on this project as well. But your assignment for today is to come up with a list of 20 themes or ideas, like a fish, a bird, an ice cream cone. Those are a few examples. I would make a list of 20. And then I'm going to be sending you this YouTube video link. So I hope you have a great day and good luck with coming up with 20 ideas.